Hello again, Broncos country. It's time. We are 1 hour from kickoff, and you are joining into the Orange Weekly Broadcast Network Tailgate Talk. Guys, I'm here. I got my PS2 jersey. I got my sun hat. I got my beer. My fantasy team is doing terrible, and all of those things mean it is week 1 for your Denver Broncos playing the Raiders in Denver. And I tell you what, we are stoked. I'm stoked, and I think everybody's super excited for this. And actually, we have a little special guest right at the beginning of this. We got our field correspondent slash Denver Broncos hobo is out at the game right now, and we're going to try to bring him on, see if he's not frozen, and let us know what's going on out there as he's getting ready to walk into the stadium for the first week of Denver Broncos football. It's finally here. Let's go. Kev, over to you, bud.
Hey, guys. What's up? How you doing, Broncos country? It is game day, and, guys, people are excited. The cool thing is all the Broncos fans are having a great time. The Raiders fans, I don't know why they're, having a good time. Because they're going to lose, I'd be sad. I got my cousin here. She's ready for the game. It's going to be a great time. Here you go. Sally, how you doing? Say hi.
Fucking amazing.
There you
fucking
go.
Amazing because we're going to fucking win.
It's going to be awesome.
Let's go.
This is awesome. People are really excited. People are piling in. A lot of excitement around Sean Payton and trust in Sean Payton, right? And what we're really looking at is the discipline of the team. We're talking about the wide receiver core being really thin, and I think we can really overcome that. We still got Cortland Sutton. I'm glad Jerry Jeudy is sitting out this game. We do not want to rush him back. So let's really, really utilize the run game. I think that's what they're planning on doing. And then exposing the defense with this young talent we have on the wide receiver core, and maybe have them, sleep on us or, think that, these guys aren't nearly as good. But let's see some deep passes to Marvin Mims. Let's see some of these things go on and see what Russ can still do with both his arm and his legs. In terms of Williams, I think that's a big question mark as well. How much runtime, how many plays he's going to get, but also how well he runs on the field. So weather's fine. We're not looking for any rain until maybe the second half. It was sprinkling earlier, but this is great football weather for September, man. So it's I can't ask for anything better today, dude.
I love it. Thank you so much, Kev. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the game, and as always, we'll send you off with a very strong
Go Broncos!
Let's go. Thanks again, Kev. All right, as Kev's heading into the game, he's getting ready to go watch the game live. If you guys aren't there, obviously I'm chilling here in California with my sunshades on. It's actually kind of rainy here, so I'm interested to see what the game plan is for the Denver Broncos here in the rain. Make sure you guys are posting your questions, comments, concerns, what you guys think. Thank you, Nicole, for joining us. Really appreciate it. Yep, it's a nervous game. Week 1, let's go. Love coming in. Jimmy, Derek, let's go Broncos. Let's go Broncos. This is huge, guys. We've waited a long time for this. We got a new coach. We got a new system, and hopefully a new Broncos team as we go in here. I'm going to go ahead and bring on my co-host here, John, who's in our green room. Just waiting on him. John, what's going on, man? Cheers, brother. I appreciate you jumping on and helping me out. So what's your initial thought process here for game 1? We talked a lot about it last Tuesday, but we're 1 hour away. What's the biggest thing you're expecting to see out of this Denver Broncos team?
Well, man, first and foremost, I am very, very jealous of Kevin today because I guarantee that house is going to be rocking there up in Denver. Curious to see what the weather's going to look like, but overall for the game in general, I said this Tuesday, I want to get a freaking win against these Raiders. That is all I care about. Yes. I don't care if we win by 1 point. I don't care if we cover the spread. I bet on the Broncos. I hope we cover the spread, but just give me a win for God's sake.
That's huge. It's been 6 games in a row. I think we haven't beaten the Raiders. It's been too long. Yeah, it's been too long. I'm really hoping the new system, you don't really see from a coaching aspect, you don't see a full playbook in the preseason. Right. So I'm interested to see what kind of full playbook we're going to see out of Sean Payton in the offense. See what he's going to do with Russell Wilson. Kev mentioned it when he jumped on. Are they going to use Russell Wilson's legs as much as it kind of looked like they were going to in the preseason? And with this weather, it's going to be a ground and pound game regardless, I think so. Of how we look at it. So,
yeah, I think so. To your point, that's a really good point. I'm excited to see what the offense truly looks like because you're right. Unless you're at every single training camp, you're not going to know what type of plays we're going to be throwing out there today. So that's exciting. And then to the Russell Wilson point, I think they've been saying it all offseason anyways. They want Russell Wilson to get back to what he's doing when the play's breaking down, just freaking run with it, make a play out of nothing. And that's what they're saying. So we'll see if it comes true today.
Yeah, and I hope so. The moniker in Seattle was "Let Russ cook." Kind of let him use his legs, let him find the open guy as the play breaks down. So we'll see if we're going to see some of that today. I'm actually interested to see how much of Javonte Williams we're going to see today.
Yeah,
he's back healthy. He played a little bit in the preseason, but we also have two running backs behind him that are Pirine and McLaughlin are both very deserving running backs to be able to carry the load if for some reason we want to keep them on a pitch count. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, again, what they've been saying is Javonte is probably going to have a slow start to the year as far as the amount of touches he's getting. And by that, I mean, I'd expect, maybe it's 50-50 between him and Pirine. David's all about McLaughlin getting more touches early. And maybe he does. Maybe I'm totally wrong there. Do you see, the split being Javonte and Pirine, or do you think McLaughlin is going to get in there more?
Yeah, I definitely see it, Javonte and Pirine. And the only time I see McLaughlin coming in is if he needs an extra person in the backfield for some dump off, for maybe some passing downs. But remember Pirine is a big body too, and he could be back there for pass blocking. It really depends on what the Raiders throw at us. What kind of pass rush we're going to see? Obviously, Max Crosby is one of our biggest concerns here. Are we gonna be able to control him on the offensive line? And if not, then you're gonna want Pirine in there to be able to block as these guys come in. So I think it's probably gonna be about. I'd even probably say a little bit more 60-40 towards Pirine just to try to keep.
I can see that.
Keep Javonte on a pitch clock.
Yeah, I can see that. Also, I mean, do you see some gadget plays in there this early for like McLaughlin? Because I mean, Sean Payton has compared him to the likes of Reggie Bush, and we know all the different types of plays he was generating for Reggie Bush when he was in New Orleans. So I mean, I'm curious if McLaughlin has any type of role like that. Probably not to the extent of Reggie Bush, but if there's 3 or 4 plays in there, do you think that's in the cards?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think where you're going to see it the most is probably the screens. Some of these running back screens are going to have them back there. Probably like maybe some third and longs. You're probably going to see like if we can't push the ball down the field through the game, and sometimes on like a 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14, if we find ourselves in that situation, sometimes the best play is to try to run a running back screen and see if we can get some yards on the ground instead of through the air. So I could definitely see him being that guy because he's small, he's agile, he knows how to like the reason we kept him on in the preseason, he knows how to find the hole and he hits it hard. Like he can accelerate through any gap in that defense. So if we can get him on some screen plays, I think that it would work out really, really well for us. I think that's probably the gadget that I could see him using in there.
Or Dave's going to be completely right. And he's just going to be in there on 1st and 2nd down on a few tries.
But we won't hear the end of it on the Tuesday show if he is.
Hey, all I care about is the win. If it leads to us beating the Raiders, David can be right all he wants.
That's true. All right, go through some of these. Sorry, for some reason Facebook's being weird on some people. Go Broncos. Neil says all we see is Jimmy going down. I'd love to see it. If we could get the pass rush. The other thing I was going to talk to you a little bit later. We still have 30 minutes to talk, so I won't jump into all the subjects. But remind me later about the Broncos pass rush. John, what is the spread right now? Do you know off the top of your head?
I looked, it was 3.5. That was okay. I mean, that's been a while since that was before the Judy news came out. And so it might be closer to 3 now since he's not playing. But I mean, the expectation was he wasn't going to play in the first place. So I think it's probably still. I can check real quick. My guess is it's still sitting at 3.5, which it opened at 3. When the lines came out. So that means I think about 60% of the betting is going towards the Broncos. Last I saw. So a lot and
we're favored. We're favored to win this game,
yes.
which is important.
we're at home. So, you'd expect for, week one, not really sure. I mean, look at the games this morning. It's been some weird, like like the Cardinals are winning a game right now, which I never thought would happen week one with Josh Dobbs, the guy they just picked up like a week ago.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago.
So the Broncos are favored. They have a 3-point spread right now in our favor, which, again, we're the home team, so you'd kind of expect that. So what that tells me is it's actually kind of the NFL isn't sure how to judge.
It's decently even. I know Ray told me a couple years ago when we did Ragers that usually about 1.5, 2 points is if it's in the favor, 1.5, 2 points to the home team. That's like an even split. Definitely, they just have no idea. It could be a toss up. So 3 points that we're still favored by a little bit, but that extra a little bit more just because we are at home. And like you said, I'm expecting that. I'm expecting that crowd. I'm expecting that stadium to be rocking for today's game.
Yeah, I think I really hope it's more than 3 points that we win by. Again, a win to win. But
right.
We said that 2 years ago, and it felt like we were one of the last undefeated teams 2 years ago, and we kept saying a win's a win, and then the wheels fell off very quickly. So I would just like to see some dominance as well. I'll take the win if that's what it means, but. I'm excited. Was
it the Vance Joseph era that we went 4-0 to start the season?
I think so. Yeah, because wasn't it like us and the Raiders were like the last 2 undefeated teams?
Yeah, and then it went south real fast. But yeah, I'm excited to see what you're right. I'm excited to see what this coaching staff does. This team seems to be energized. It seems to have a lot more energy. It's crazy. Like last year, we kind of said that because of all the social media hype. And this year, there's been very little social media. We knew that Sean Payton got in his initial press conferences like, we're not doing the social media thing this year. But even without social media hype, you're just seeing some of the interviews, the way that the way that everyone's talking, the players, the coaches are talking after practices. It just seems like there's more of excitement / confidence in their team this year. I'm definitely
confidence
excited.
Confidence is a good word. It's definitely different, right, than last year, which we talked about. This whole offseason, the way that Sean Payton has approached it compared to last year. And hopefully that it feels to me like it's more like football optimism. Before it was like a show that we were putting on with Russell Wilson doing God knows what, like on a weekly basis. Like Sean Payton came in and he's like, no, we're getting rid of this crap. We're going to focus on football. So hopefully it leads to just production on the field, right? Like that's all that matters at the end of the day. So I'd be very shocked if we came out looking the same way we did last year, especially on offense, with a different approach that we're taking.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just going to be different. And I think so. The other thing, going back to, I was doing my memes, and I know, John, you're going to hate this conversation because we're going to talk about Colorado football real quick. But I'm expecting what Colorado football did last week, which is I think the beginning of the game is going to be slow. And you're seeing it in the NFL too, right? The first half, I mean, my fantasy team, let's not even talk about it. God. But like, it's terrible. And so, but the first half of these games, all except for the San Francisco deciding that they're like mid-season form already, every team is starting real slow, real low halftime scores, lots of punting, lots of like back and forth, lots of turnovers, surprisingly, and I hope that doesn't play true for us.
Yeah.
But what you're seeing is a real slow start, and I'm kind of expecting the same. Now, I'm not expecting 3 and outs the first 3 drives, but I'm expecting a slow start. We're not just going to be scoring touchdowns at will, and hopefully at the halftime adjustments, which we haven't seen in 6 years, the halftime adjustments can get us to that next level to be able to start making some scores and get to that point. So that's kind of what I'm expecting for this game.
I think that would not be surprising. I feel like we say this every year in week one, where it's like things are happening that we aren't expecting because we all think we have the crystal ball to start the season, right? And then, you're right. That first half could be very interesting. At the end of the day, all that matters is what happens by the end of the fourth quarter. Like no one's going to be talking about, oh, it was such a terrible first half, but we still won. And look at these stats, but they all came in the second half. No one's going to be talking about that. Week 2 even. Maybe week 2. Maybe week 3, no one's going to be talking about that week 1 first half. It's like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But you could be, I would not be, I agree. I would not be surprised if it was a slow start for us. Same thing for the Raiders. I mean, it's just, it's so hard to judge week 1, like what to expect out of the gate.
Let's talk about the Raiders changes that they made in the offseason. We talked a lot about Sean Payton. That's kind of our biggest offseason move. Maybe some defensive players. We got the McGlinchey on the offensive line, so that's going to be interesting to see how he plays because I don't think he played at all during the preseason. So I'm interested to see what he looks like. Let's talk about some of the Raiders move. Jimmy Garoppolo. Neil mentioned it here. What are we like? I don't. You never know. First of all, Jimmy Garoppolo is one of those quarterbacks you never know what to expect from him. Like even when he was in midseason, he was like Phillip Rivers to me. Like he'd either have a really good game or he'd have the worst game of his career. Kind of like Joe Burrow's having right now. And so I don't know what Jimmy we're gonna see today, and whether or not he's getting along with his head coach and all these other things, right? So there's a lot of pieces to play with their changes, and then their defensive line holding out and just isn't gonna play today, which is interesting.
It's nice that we only have to go against one of their defensive ends today, at least one.
Right.
Chandler Jones just blowing up the Raiders is one of the best storylines of the last couple weeks.
I love it.
Absolutely fantastic. Garoppolo, he's gonna be. I think he's very similar to Carr. By the way, shout out to Derek Carr. Big milestone today, career interception of 100. So good for him down there in New Orleans. So put that on his Hall of Fame resume.
Get him a plaque or something.
Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo, though, I don't know. It's hard. Okay, Carr, we expected pretty decent quarterback play out of Carr. I think we didn't expect top 5 performances out of him, but maybe top 10 is probably available to him. Top 15 in the league.
Right.
Garoppolo is just so hard because he never can stay healthy, at least throughout the year. So in any given game, he could have 300 yards, but at the same time, he could get hurt before halftime. But as far as, to me, they just seem like very similar quarterbacks. I'm kind of expecting the same thing we've seen out of Carr in the last few years. And then, just going up against Max Crosby is the one defensive player that actually does scare me. And man, we haven't seen our first string offensive line together since. I don't know if they all played together in that Cardinals preseason game. I
want to say McGlinchey was hurt, so I don't think I think in that first preseason game he was hurt and he was trying to bring himself back, and they didn't want to risk it. So I think this is the first we're going to see. David would know if he was here, but it would be the first. I think this is the first we're going to see of McGlinchey. Big offseason acquisition, paid a bunch of money for him. Really hoping that he could be our answer, our revolving door at right tackle. I'll say, and he's going to have to go up against Max Crosby for game 1. Welcome to the big leagues.
Here's Max Crosby for you. But I am that's one thing on our offense that kind of concerns me the most is our offensive line, even with that lack of depth we have at wide receiver. But the offensive line, man, and look, it's week 1 of preseason that I'm referencing, so it's got to be taken with a grain of salt. But they made the Cardinals' defensive line look legitimate, and I don't foresee that being the case throughout this NFL season. So I really hope that that's my one concern on my biggest concern, I should say, offense versus defense anyways.
Yeah, so Chris, thanks for letting me know. Yeah, McGlinchey is the first time seeing him. Also, probably thinking Crosby is going to be over on Bull's side. I think he usually comes from the strong side, but I wouldn't be surprised for matchup purposes if the Raiders decide to switch him up. So we'll end up seeing Bull's
it'll be interesting.
Not super great with speed on the outside. Hopefully we don't need to use him too much on the whole end. And whether whoever our running back is, whoever our second blocker is going to have to keep an eye on him. It's got to be one of those things where is Crosby on the field at all times? It's the only person on the defense that's really can blow up and has blown up. Specifically Broncos games. Has good games against us.
Yeah. It'll also be interesting. I think a lot of people are projecting 2 tight end sets with us, so that they'll probably bring one of those guys in to chip him as well.
At least chip him back in. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. The other thing is, what formations are we running today? We have 3 wide receivers on our depth chart, and then we bring up Humphrey and Dorsett from the practice squad as well. So we're gonna have 5 wide receivers available. So I'm curious how many times we're putting 4 wide receivers out there. Probably not many times.
Well, and I'll tell you what, I think there's going to be a lot of, and this is not an official term, and I know this, but 3 tight end sets where Dulcich ends up lining up as a slot receiver.
Yeah, I
he
can
might
see
not
that.
even be down in a 3-point stance. He might be up in a receiver stance on the slot because they have a lot of faith in Dulcich as a receiver. So I think that's going to be something that's going to happen, and he could be able to block if needed. If we throw in him as a slot, and then a linebacker comes out to play him, he can run him off, or block him, or whatever he needs to do, and then we have the ability to do whatever we need to do.
That's a matchup problem for the Raiders defense if that's the case. But I think you're right. I think Dulcich does become that potentially number 3 wide receiver, number 4 receiver, depending on how much faith they have in Brandon Johnson. I'm expecting,
but it's going to be the Mims and Sutton show.
I think so too. I think it's going to be Sutton against Marcus Peters. That'll be an interesting matchup. Peters has been dominant in the past. First year with the Raiders, right? I believe so.
I think so. Yeah. I think they just picked him up.
He's a little bit up there in age, so I'm not concerned that we can't handle that matchup. I think that's the one cornerback versus our wide receiver matchup that is intriguing. The other ones, I can't tell you. I know that who Nate Hobbs is. I probably should know, but I don't know.
I think he's a second-year guy.
Yeah,
I think he's a second-year guy.
Name sounds familiar, but I don't recall him last year. So yeah, the Peters matchup is the one that intrigues me. I don't know if they're going to be shadowing. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to. Do you really see Peters following Sutton across the field? I think it's just going to be, hey, you got this.
No, I think they're just going to be set left and right corner. I don't think they're going to try to follow around either one of them because you have one guy who was highly sought after in the preseason. We picked him up in the draft. That nobody really knows what he looks like in the pros yet, so they're not really going to try to follow around. I think it's just going to be a set, which, in my honest opinion, I think that we can end up taking advantage of that. If we see a press man on Cortland Sutton versus, what do you say, Hobbs? We see press man versus Cortland Sutton on Hobbs. Let's throw the dang ball, let's kind of get that matchup mistake, which, again, I'm super excited to have a experienced head coach with an experienced offensive coordinator coming in to be able to, take advantage of those matchups as soon as they see them. Let them know, hey, if you get a press man, Cortland Sutton versus their third string corner or whoever it is, let's take advantage of it.
Yeah, I'm liking all of the wide receiver bets today as far as receiving yards. Sutton's at 55 on his over/under for yards.
Okay.
I think Sutton's gonna have a good day with Judy not being out there. Mims is at 40 yards. Dulcich is at 30. I'm hitting all those. We'll see. I'm obviously very biased, and I think I lose most of my betting money to the Broncos. But I just like the matchup this week. It's probably too much hype for week 1, but it's just the Judy factor makes the difference for me with these guys.
Yeah, and the Dulcich, I ended up having a couple of friends. I was telling Dulcich was, I think, in fantasy, I think he was number 15 tight end or something like that. And you're you're talking about a team who only has 3 wide receivers on the team, and you don't think that guy's going to get targeted to be able to be a legitimate pass catching tight end. I think he'll be good. Yeah. Chris.
Go ahead.
I do think Tremont will get a lot of play time, but he's not going to be in the pass game. He might get a couple catches, don't get me wrong, but I think Dulcich is going to be lining up to go out for passes more. We really got him to Troutman, not Tremont. Troutman. we really got Troutman to mostly be a pass blocker for.
He can catch too.
A pass block
he
can. Oh, absolutely.
In New Orleans, he was a decent receiving tight end. So I do like the combination. The fact that the defense can't just write him off is what I'm getting at. They can't just be like, oh, he's in the block. We don't really need to worry about covering this guy. Yeah, he's gonna be that second tight end out there normally. And then
and he's gonna be good.
And then we have David's boy Manhurts. It'll be interesting. Maybe he comes in those running situations. To me, that's the one that's if he's in the game, we're definitely running it probably to his.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, if he's in the game at tight end, if he has to come in for an injury, I get it. But if he's coming in tight end position, let's be a little bit careful about what we think was going to happen there.
Right.
But again, David has been to a couple of the.
I think he's just
practices.
Excited the dedication that we're showing to the run game by this signing. I think that's the only hype that David is giving. The only reason he's hyping so much. Which again, no one is talking about this Broncos in this offseason, aside from Broncos country, this run game. But Sean Payton loves to run the ball, so I don't know why the hype is not there for Javonte Williams and Pirine, which is again going back to McLaughlin. Why I think there's going to be some plays for him in this playbook.
I think it's going to be a heavy, probably 75-25 run over pass, and then the
You think it's
pass
going to be that much?
I think so.
You think the weather today?
Well, there's two reasons. Yeah, the weather's a bit. That's what I was. Dang it! You stole my thunder. Yeah. So
Well,
the first one, Sean Payton. Sean Payton. Sean Payton is a huge running guy, and then the weather is going to be a factor in this, which also scares me on the other side too, because Josh Jacobs, I think he was the top rusher last year. He had the most yards, and he blew over us a couple games. So let's talk about
against the Broncos, that's for sure, man.
Yeah, let's talk about this defensive line. In the first, I think we didn't get a sack until the 5th game of the year last year.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was bad. I remember, like, it was disappointing. Like, and every year we were like, every week we were like, oh, these guys are gonna get a sack. These guys are gonna, like, it did not happen until I think like week 5 or week 6 or something like that. It was bad. So are we expecting that our defensive line is gonna be able to step up, and make some plays?
Yeah, Josh Jacobs. Aside from the Max Crosby, and we talked about this Tuesday, Josh Jacobs is one of those guys that is a concerning matchup for the Broncos, just because he's had our number the last few years. He always seems to show up against us. So, DJ Jones, he's in there to be that like run stuffer, if you will. Mike Purcell also, I think he was hurt quite a bit last year. So those are two guys that can kind of clog up the middle of our defense. And hopefully allow the guys on the outside, not let the interior offensive linemen get to the outside on any sort of like, I don't know, sweep plays or, pulling type plays. But yeah, the big addition though is Zach Allen, right? And one of our biggest signings in the offseason. So it'll be interesting. I'll be honest. I should be more up on his play. I mean, is he good at run defense? Is he good? Is he a good player?
Yeah, I think. Look, I
don't know.
Got the team. We got the names.
I don't know if he's much of a run stopper, or if he's just like there to provide pressure on the quarterback in pass rush situations. So that's an interesting one for me to see, just because I wasn't exactly watching the Cardinals games last year.
Right, and it's going to really come down to our linebackers. I think. I want the sacks, right? Like I want to get back there, but to be able to stop any running back in the league, it comes down to your linebackers and whether or not they can read to fill the holes and wrap up. And I was watching. Did you guys see that Christian McCaffrey touchdown? Guy had him dead to rights, like 2 yards in the backfield. Christian did a tornado spin out of it and then took off for like 60 yards for a touchdown. If our linebackers can get in the back, wrap them up enough time for at least long enough for the rest of the team to be able to get off their blocks and get to them, then I think we'll be okay. But I'm a little nervous. Yeah, I'm a little nervous about this run game.
But the run matchup that concerns me, just because for whatever reason they've done a good job. Raiders' offensive line though is not supposed to be very good, right?
No, they've lost. I think they lost one, and then they're supposed to be like decent. But again, it's kind of the same offensive line that they had last year. And Josh Jacobs was the lead rusher. So, like, on PFF, right, look at PFF numbers. They're like, oh, they're not a great offensive lineman. But somehow the guy still ends up running for 2,000 yards or whatever it was.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I think the combination of Jewell and Singleton, right, that should be, our primary inside linebackers. But then, I mean, Drew Sanders, is he coming in there to stop the run at all, you think?
Oh, yeah, he will. Yeah, I mean, I know we got him to be the tight end killer, but I think he'll be able to come in. I think he'll be able to fill the role. But again, we don't know because he's a young guy. We're expecting him to, but we'll see what happens. But
that's the one of the positions that's interesting how they shift in and out, because I don't know. It'll be interesting if we're going to see 3 inside linebackers on the field at one time. With Jewell and Singleton and Sanders. Yep. They've been hyping up Sanders. I think he's going to be in the game quite a bit. It'll just be interesting on those plays that we kind of expect to be run plays to see if he's in there, for the most part on there.
Yeah, but we have a lot of everybody says that we're going to use him as like a joker role, kind of like that hybrid linebacker safeties, that true strong safety kind of thought process. But we also have true strong safeties on our team that are also in that hybrid role. So we have like probably 4 or 5 like athletes on this defense that can either defend the run and shoot the gap, or go out in pass coverage and be pretty successful and go down pass coverage against tight ends or even some slot receivers, depending on who it is.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, so I'm going to look at, Chris, you said any info on Riley Moss. I haven't seen anything yet. He's listed. He was limited practice yesterday, just like Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy has been ruled out.
Riley's on the inactive list today. So
he's on inactive? Okay.
Yeah, cool. He's the other kind of big name on that inactive list besides Jeudy. We'll just run through the rest. Jaquan McMillan at cornerback. I think he actually had a pretty good preseason. That's why he's on the roster in the first place. He's inactive. JL Skinner, rookie, 5th round draft pick, 6th round, something like that.
Yeah.
Safety, he's on the inactive list. Nate Adkins, who can kind of play a few roles at tight end and fullback. He's inactive. And then Thomas Nkoum, the number 5 outside linebacker. And then Alex Forsyth, again, rookie, I think 7th round cornerback, or center. Yeah. He's inactive today. So I think Moss and Jeudy are the only 2 actual injured players on this inactive list.
Yeah, the rest of them are healthy scratches just to get the numbers down. Right. And then so I'm looking at Chandler Jones, obviously not playing for the Raiders.
Like the one big one, obviously.
Yeah, and then they got a DB, Faxon. To Brandon Faxon.
When I was looking at it, I was like, I don't know who any of these guys are.
Yeah, Facey-san. I'm just going to go with Facey-san. That's it. He's out. And then DeAndre Carter is questionable. I didn't see the official listing for whether or not he's out. Okay, so yeah, let's talk. Let's talk about. Oh, good.
No, you got it. You had something in your head.
I wasn't. I was just going to start talking randomly and then see
what happened.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like Orange Weekly at all. No, just think about Riley Moss, that takes one person out at cornerback. I don't think the expectation, was that he wasn't going to play today. Right. We already are also missing Kawan Williams. He's on the short-term IR. So, if we look at our cornerback situation, obviously, we have the number 1 cornerback in the league that's going to be facing up on Devontae Adams. And then behind him, we're looking at DeMar Mathis, right? And then Aseng Bassey, who just kind of showed up this preseason in training camp and the preseason games, is filling in at that is probably going to be our slot cornerback for the first, 4 weeks at least. But behind them, I think we're going to see a lot of the safeties coming in that nickel coverage. It's going to be interesting to see how many cornerbacks versus safeties are on the field at obvious passing situations, and then throw in Drew Sanders,
Right. Well, that's it. I was like I said, we have Drew Sanders, and then we have Kareem Jackson, Caden Stearns. All those guys could be able to fill the run defense and go out for pass coverage really easy. Obviously, Justin Simmons. I don't think we've talked enough about him coming back.
We never do for some reason. He's like one of the best players in the league.
It's because it's just one of those expected things. And same thing with PS2. It's just one of those they're gonna be good. Okay, what else we got to talk about? We're good. But having him on that defense, having PS2 out there, I think that we're gonna be able to stop the pass against a quarterback in a new system, a new wide receivers. It just comes down to whether or not we can get pressure. They can only cover for so long. Right. And if we can't get the pressure on the quarterback, if we can't get pressure on Jimmy, then we're going to have a tough time. And everybody's been hyping up our outside linebackers and our pass rush. Jonathan Cooper, Randy Gregory is healthy for the first time. Hopefully he stays healthy through this year. Yeah. At least through the game. Can we at least get one game with him?
Right. Exactly. When he's healthy, he brings energy. But we barely saw that last year, which was frustrating, especially for the contract we get.
The big offseason signing with Frank Clark, and then everyone's kind of, David's big high on Nick Bonito. So we're going to see what happens. I think Jonathan Cooper's got a good chance to show his expectations this year, but I've been hurt before on outside linebackers where everybody thought he was going to be really good, and then year 2 we were like, yeah, this is his year to break out, and then he's playing in the Canadian Football League year 3. So so we'll see what happens, but we gotta get pressure on Jimmy in order to do anything on defense. I trust half the field in PS2, and Justin Simmons is gonna be able to stop the big deep ball for the most part, depending on the play calls. But we gotta get pressure, or else there's only so long you can cover.
That's true, but you're acting like it's a given that PS2 and even having Justin Simmons on the same side as him can lock down Devontae Adams. And talking about one of the best wide receivers in the league, and he has shown that he has been the Achilles heel, if you will, for for PS2 the last few years. Certainly last year anyways, but yeah, last year, I guess. Anyways, that's an intriguing matchup. Not one I'm as concerned about, even though he just like Josh Jacobs had owned us, especially last year. I think it's just a matter of time before PS2 catches up with him. So, all it takes is, that's the thing at wide receiver, right? It only takes 2 or 3 big plays, and it's like, oh, this guy,
right.
He can't be
covered.
He's
gonna burn him. Right.
So, yeah. You take 1 or 2 plays off, which not that he's taking plays off at all. That's but you just have 1 or 2 plays where you get beaten, and the quarterback finds the guy. So it's an
sometimes it's
one.
not even his fault. Like sometimes the quarterback could have great coverage, and then Devontae, like you said, Devontae is a crazy athlete, and he's going to go up and get the ball, and it's like that was the best coverage you could have provided. But Devontae's just doing Devontae Adams like.
Right. And at the end of the day, if Adams has over 100 yards, it's going to be looked at like he beat. Even if PS2 isn't on him at all today, which obviously isn't going to happen, it's still going to be, the comparison is going to be Devontae Adams is better than Surtain.
Absolutely.
So it's just going to be a fun one to watch. I'm excited for that matchup.
Yeah, I'm excited. Guys, thank you guys for watching. Post your questions, comments, concerns. We're going to go around the horn real quick. Post your predictions. If you get the prediction right at the end of the year, everybody that got the prediction right, we'll do a raffle, and we'll send you something for freezies from the Orange Weekly Broadcast Network. I'd suck at these predictions, man.
Terrible.
Like, I am awful. It is bad. Week 1 is terrible too. Yeah, we always go way too bold. Which
I'm getting
and I always here's my problem is like I see the chat and I see everybody commenting and stuff, and they're commenting some of these like 35-10 Broncos, and I'm like, actually, you know what? That's not like unrealistic. And then I make these predictions knowing that we haven't scored over 21 points all season last year.
Go big or go home, Jared. All right.
Yeah, I know, right? See, look, here we go. Anthony's already saying 24-10 Broncos. I think we scored more than 21 points twice last year or something like that. I don't know how it is, but
different team,
different season,
culture, different leadership.
Yeah, we're in Denver. We're playing against. See, this is how it goes. Like, see, we're in Denver. We're playing against a Raiders team with a brand new quarterback, and half of their defensive line missing because they just decided they don't want to play for him anymore. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to say, kind of along the same lines, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Week 1, lots of cobwebs getting out. I'm thinking 20. I think 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, 20-13. I think they get a touchdown, a couple field goals, but I think we win 20-13.
Is weather coming into a factor there in that prediction, Jared?
For me, yeah. Yeah, I think between weather and it being week 1, like week 1 and rainy games, is just I just imagine it being a low-scoring game. Like, I just don't want like a 6-3 game. Can we get some sort of interesting game?
Give me PTSDs from previous. Actually, for the last 6 years. Anyways, I'm going bold again because why not? I actually really like Anthony's prediction. I almost cut mine to that until I looked at his. I can't. Obviously, I can't go with his.
Yeah, you can't go there now. He already said it first.
So, 31-17 is going to be me here. Broncos win it. I wanted to take a touchdown off of each side because of the weather, but then that brings me to Anthony's prediction. So,
right.
I got to stick with it now. I'm going 31-17.
You think we're kicking off the season week 1 with a 30-point game?
Yeah, are we being realistic or what with my orange goggles on?
Well, I mean, I guess you could choose. I guess you got one. I know which one you chose. I know which one you chose. Oh man, I'm not going to see it till I believe. Like, I'm not going to believe it till I see it. If we could score 31 points, it's just hard for me. Like, we've been 6 years.
Sticking with it. Yes, I do this every year too, and I'm going to be very disappointed. Or will I?
Well, you're gonna say this, and then we're gonna win like 14-6, and then you're gonna be like, "Whoa, yeah, whoa, we got it."
How did I start the show? I don't care as long as we beat the freaking Raiders. That's all I care about. Also, I have a dinner bet on the line with my coworkers, so all I need is a win.
It's just a win, straight like money line.
Yeah. He tried to take the points, but I said no. He still went for it. So.
No, we're going money line. All right, Derek says 28-17.
So far, all these predictions have us covering the spread. Just throwing that out there.
That's true. Everybody has us covering the spread. It's week 1. Orange goggles are on. 28-14 for my mother. Love you, Mom. And watch her be the right one. And I have to send her some shit. Like, this is gonna.
Just call it her Christmas present.
I like how you think, John. Thank you so much. So that's our score prediction. Game is kicking off here in about 15 minutes, about 10 minutes. Last thoughts, John, and then we'll let everybody go. Hit the restroom, get your beers, get your drinks, so we can watch this kickoff. What are you thinking, John? What's the biggest thing on your mind for this? Final thoughts.
Yeah, one thing that we haven't talked about enough in this show, and for some reason, I feel like this off season we haven't talked a lot about, is just how is Russell Wilson going to play? Like, we've been talking about our receivers, our running backs, our tight ends. Talking about literally every position, it seems like, except Russell Wilson. So I want to see him come out there, be confident. If he makes a mistake, take the adjustments that are needed and ball out, use his legs like we talked about. And let's just see a turnaround from him compared to last year. And we started seeing it at the end of last year. So I think it's definitely in him. So I just want to see him start out on a strong footing this year.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's one of those taboo subjects right now because you can't like hate on him because he's still your quarterback. You can't be like, oh, he needs to get his shit together because he's still your quarterback. But you also can't like sit there and like based on stats last year, like you can't be like, oh, he's still the greatest quarterback. He's still got it. I'm like, you can't do either one of those things. So it's one of those like, yep, Russell Wilson's our quarterback, and we hope he does well.
When we win 31-17, you might be singing a different tune though next week.
Yeah, that's true. If we win 31-17, if we score 30 points more than a couple times in the first half of the season, I'll be happy. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. And I'm still a big believer, and I don't think it was 100% Hackett's fault for the way that the team went last year and the way that the season went. I think he honestly gave way too much control into Russell Wilson, and then we went the opposite. So this is one of those like big pendulum swings that instead of finding like a middle ground, we went to the opposite side where Sean Payton's like, you're gonna run the call I played or the play I called. You're gonna run the play I called, and you're gonna like it, and then there's nothing else. Yeah, and you're gonna do it, and that's how it's gonna be run. So. I'm interested to see how that works out for Russell and if it shows up on the field. That's about as much as I'm going to say about Russ. I hope he proves me wrong. I really do, because I really want obviously the Broncos to. I want the best for Russell. I don't have anything against him personally. It's just his play has been terrible in the past year. So, if we score over 24, it's going to be a miracle, Steve. Come
on,
I'm telling you, I don't know about miracle. Might not be a big one, but we'll see. I don't know about miracle. If we score over 35, if we score 31, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna eat my words.
Hey, that's not bad.
My final thoughts here, as we get ready to wrap this up. I'm worried about our defense. I shouldn't be, because we historically we've had a pretty good defense in the past, but for some reason the Raiders always find a way to exploit our defense, whether it be on the ground. Devontae Adams has always given us crap, haven't given us a hard time. Josh Jacobs, for some reason, always has over 100-something yard game on us.
Yeah, 200-yard game last year against us.
Sure. I didn't want to. I blacked that out. All right,
okay,
can we just
terrible way to move on? Terrible thing to bring
100-something. 100-something. So yeah, I'm just worried about the defense being able to stop their offensive power, and really those two guys. And outside of those two guys, it's going to be
those two guys and Max Crosby for me. That's like the matchups.
Apparently, Joey I saw Kevin in tailgate lot. He's hammered, and Joey is too. Didn't say hello. That's Kevin. That's on you. You owe Joey a beer. It's like
good work, Joey, and good, not great work on Kevin's part.
Yeah, not great work, Kevin. But he is he's a small guy, so it only takes him 2 beers to get that point. But we'll see what happens. But
he's also been there for like 24 hours. Like,
he slept there overnight. He slept in his car.
Yeah.
That sounds awful.
I didn't know this was happening.
Just to be in 3C with the tailgate. Yeah, I don't know.
I know. I mean, that's dedication, but I'm sure his brain is not functioning perfectly well at this point.
No, he's not. He's tired. He's drunk, and he's about to go yell things at the. You guys saw him at the beginning of the show. He's about to go yell things with his cousin. I think he brought to the game at the team. So, John, thanks again for joining me. We got about 10 minutes till kickoff. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for the comments. We love you guys. Join back here, tailgate talk, or halftime hash during the halftime, about 3 minutes prior to halftime starting. I'll jump on here. It's all about halftime hash. It's all about rapid fire questions. You throw in your questions, comments, and what you thought about the game, and I'll just kind of bring them up. We'll talk about them, and it's rapid fire. So I love halftime hash. One of my favorite things to do here. Really appreciate you guys joining Orange Weekly Broadcast Network. If you're not following us on YouTube, please go follow us on our YouTube, as well as I think we're on TikTok now. We're on Facebook. We're on all the social media platforms. It's a little too late now because it's about an hour long, 45 minutes long, but we do have a pregame and postgame podcast. That pregame podcast was probably one of the best ones we did. Thank you, John. John Spotty joined us, and we had a great pregame podcast. And then the postgame podcast will be posted probably either Monday or Tuesday. John, you guys figure out when you guys can post that?
Usually when it's a home game, Kevin's at the game, so we'll probably record tomorrow, and then we'll get it out there. We'll do that probably live on YouTube. You typically do. So, and then that'll be out either late Monday or Tuesday to all the podcast sites.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much again for watching, and make sure you guys are following us. And John, thanks again. And we always end it off on a very strong Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Do what I like, yeah, do what I like, yeah, do what I like. Sipping goose, if it's right, and I go with the flow, yeah, I go with the flow, yeah, I go with the flow, cause I know I'm the show. In the zone, here I go, in the zone, here I go.